I am not a licensed professional of any sort, so my advice is to not be taken as such, or to be used as a substitute for an expert in any field or line of work. Please be advised that these are my opinions. This channel and channel holder disclaim any and all liability. Listen at your own risk.
No, I'm not a writer.
Okay.
If I find my way home, yeah. Wouldn't it be crazy? But you still amaze me. Wouldn't it be crazy? But you still amaze me. Wouldn't it be crazy? But you still amaze me. Wouldn't it be crazy? But you still amaze me. If I find my way home, yeah.
Thanks for checking out Slaynuh Sofa, the podcast created to be your peace among the pandemonium. Before I go any further, I certainly have to thank my wonderful, amazing, phenomenal friend Bria Evans for the drawing. I came to her with the idea with little to no time to do it, but she got the job done wonderfully. Thank you so much. I love the logo. I love you. Thank you so much again. And two people who probably don't know this, but they kind of catapulted me into this whole podcasting thing with the simplest comments. And those people are Paige Smith and Atasia or Tay Peed. The three of us had English class together fall 2017, and Paige had to interview me and Tay for a project for another class. And after I spoke, Paige said, "Have you ever thought about broadcasting? You have the look and the voice for it." And Tay was like, "Yeah, you really do." And ever since then, like, a seed has just been planted in my mind, and I kind of thought about broadcasting. I thought about podcasting more than I did broadcasting, but thank the both of you, because that really just, like I said, planted a seed in my mind to even think about doing this and making it tangible. So thank you. I certainly cannot forget to thank my closest family, my loved ones, my boyfriend, my friends for also supporting me through everything that I do, all the projects I come up with. I really sincerely appreciate you guys so much, and I love you more than you'll ever know. Probably sitting on your couch or in your car or at the gym or eating at your dinner table. You're doing something, but the point is you're probably thinking to yourself, what is Slaynuh Sofa? What is she doing? What is she trying to accomplish? So basically, if you follow me on some of my social media, you'll know that Slaynuh is my alter ego in a way. And I have to accredit the name to Christopher Buchetti, my wonderful friend from Connecticut. He gave me the name in 2014. So before I started hearing about she slays this, she slays that, Chris gave me that name. Thank you so much, Chris. It's just stuck with me, so we're going to go with it. But anyway, that's where the Slaynuh part comes from. And I wanted it to be a podcast that is a symbol of comfortability, relaxation, positive laziness, and just casual conversation about tough subjects. So if you look at the background, you'll see that it is wood. And wood itself is representative of solidity. So through everything, I'm going to remain solid like heavy wood. And I may bend, but I'll never break. I understand that wood, breaks sometimes, but for the most part, wood is very solid and sturdy. It also represents resilience, nurturance, endurance, and old and new experiences woven together. So, people will often outgrow people, occupation, cities, likes, dislikes, and so much more. But like a tree, the only way to go is up. But also on the flip side, I'm not a perfect person. I do not have all positive qualities. So, wood can feel uneasy sometimes. It can feel angry. It can even feel sometimes dead on the inside. But I believe that all of these traits work together, and they're on a swaying pendulum to kind of make me who I am. So that is what Slaynuh Sofa essentially means, boiled down. My name on my birth certificate is not Slaynuh, it's Shayna. I'm 20 years old. My birthday is September 16th, so I'm a Virgo. I'm a junior at East Carolina University in Greenville, North Carolina. I am majoring in English, and my minor is linguistics. I am very much so a family person. I love my family so much. Like, they support me through the ups, the downs, the good, the bad, the ugly. all the projects I have, all the ideas, they never tell me that I can't do something, because if I put my mind to it, I know that I can do it. But they're also not yes men, so I really appreciate that. I have 5 siblings. I have 2 older sisters, 2 younger brothers, and 1 little sister. They're not so little anymore, but they're always going to be little to me. And I also have a boyfriend. My boyfriend's name is Ishmael. He is also a junior, but he goes to Central University in Durham, North Carolina, and he studies criminal justice. I'm originally from Connecticut, so of course I have my net of friends back home in Connecticut, but I also have, since coming to North Carolina, the true friends that I've made are ones that I've met at East Carolina University, and they've become family. I tell myself all the time, and I let them know as much as I can, that I have family, so there's no in between. You're my loved ones once we reach a certain stage of our friendship. Something that I will let you all know up front is that I'm a very spiritual person. So you will often hear me talk about God, Jesus Christ, even the Holy Spirit, but I'm not a forceful person. I recognize that not everybody is spiritual, not everybody is religious, and that is fine with me. I love you all the same. But you need to know that I will be referencing the ones that I lean on in times of happiness and times of sadness and all the in-betweens. But what I say overall, it can be translated into literal life. It's not just spiritual and religious references. A like of mine is cooking. I love cooking. I try to be as healthy as possible. I try to be conscious of what I put into my temple. And I like to know what ingredients are in my food, so I like to cook them a lot myself. Like, I will much rather prefer to have food at home and prepare it than go out and eat all the time. You're not only saving money, but you know exactly what goes into your food. You don't have to worry about sanitation and all that type of stuff. I also like traveling. I actually love traveling. I don't do a whole lot of it, but that is a life goal of mine. I've been out of the country for study abroad in London, and I just believe that international studying especially, but venturing outside of your comfort zone, outside of your home, is something that everyone, no matter your circumstance, that's something that everyone should have access to, and something that people should be able to enjoy in, and it shouldn't be a financial burden to them. My number one biggest dislike would have to be people touching my stuff. And I don't care if you use my stuff, just ask me. But if you think you're going to touch something of mine when I'm not there, and you're going to think, oh, she's not going to notice I moved it. If it's not in the exact same spot I left it in, I'm going to notice. And I hate when people touch my stuff. I'm just a very particular person, and moving stuff around just like messes up my flow. So please do not do that. And I also strongly dislike closed-minded people. I believe a lot of the issues that we see across several nations is people aren't going outside of their bubble, and they have these preconceived notions about people that they know nothing about. How can you have an opinion on something that you've never experienced, something you've never read about, something you've never had a personal human contact with? You can't simply base fallacies on an entire group of people. That's, whether you're talking about the color of their skin, their religion, their sexual orientation, anything. If you just open your mind and drive out ignorance and bring in new information, that's the only way to be progressive. But the problem is so many people have regressive mindsets. So if you're closed-minded, I will do everything in my power to educate you, but you just have to know that being closed-minded is a dislike of mine. And I understand everyone grows at different stages. I was closed-minded at some point in time, but I just really don't like closed-mindedness. I want you guys to get to know me because I want this podcast to be a form of transparency on my behalf as well as yours. But I don't want to ask, simple questions like, what's your favorite color? What's your favorite food? This, that, stuff like that. So I chose questions online that I found that I think are very detailed, and you'll get to know me more as a person rather than surface level questions. The first is, what's the farthest you've ever been from home? The farthest I've ever been from home is London. I study abroad in London, this past July 2017. I was there for 3 weeks from July 1st until July 23rd. And I studied it through the English department at ECU alongside 4 professors and a group of peers. I took 2 English classes. They were each 3 credit hours, so I in total earned 6 credit hours. And the flight, it was about 8 hours, I believe, but I was 5 hours ahead of my family, friends, everyone in the States. So if it was 5 p.m. in London, I was probably venturing the streets with my friends or something, while people back home were eating lunch, for example. What fictional place would you most like to visit? Hands down, number 1, probably the only one I can think of, is the wardrobe from The Chronicles of Narnia, The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe. I loved that book. It was a form of escapism for me, and it was just so magical to me to think that, wow, you can walk into a closet and just be in a completely different world. What do you like most about your family? Now, I have a very, very big family, and I don't like to leave people out, but exclusively talking about, my aunts and uncles who support me, my cousins, but in the household for the most part, my brother Terrence Jr., my sister Sade, my parents, my grandmother, 2 of my uncles who I grew up with by the names of James and John. They are so real. I've never had to question their loyalty, and I'm not trying to say that, in a 21st century loyalty way, but I've never had to question what side of the fence they were playing. They were always for me. They were always about me. Anything that they ever did or said was out of love. It was to better me. It might not have been what I wanted to hear, but they always keep it genuine with me. They support me through anything and everything that I do. They are just wonderful people. I wish that everyone could get a copy of each of them because they are just so wonderful. Anything that I want to do. When I wanted green hair, you want green hair? Go get it. And I've had every color of the rainbow for my hair. They don't care. It doesn't diminish my value as a person. You don't want to do this anymore? You don't have to do it. Go find something you love. You change your minor from science to linguistics. You don't want to be a pediatrician anymore. You don't really know what you want to do at this point in life. That's okay. And that's what I love about them. They never pressure me, and I never feel like I have to be someone else when I'm around them. So I really, really appreciate that. And that's the same thing with my boyfriend. I just feel like I can be who I truly am, and I am accepted. And that's all I really ask for. I just love my family, my loved ones in general. What songs have you completely memorized? If you ask my friends and my family, I'm literally always singing. Anytime they say just about anything, I have a song that has those words in it. But 2 top songs that I can sing, no problems, no stops, no skips. The first one is Where I Want to Be by Dono Jones. I can get all the instruments for that. I can get all his ad-libs, every little thing. I love that song so much. I'm really an old soul. I love that song. And I love that whole album, actually. Dono Jones is a great artist. The second song would have to be Into You by Fabulous and Tamia. That song is just timeless. I love it so much. I can rap Fabulous's part. I can sing Tamia's. Not, the best, but I love that song. Those 2 songs I have completely memorized. Try me. What do you wish you knew more about? This is going to sound cliche, but I wish I knew more about myself. And I mean that because I'm constantly evolving into a better person every single day. I'm learning things about myself every day. I'm learning what I like, what I don't like, what I'm unsure about, what's changing within me. So I like to know more about myself. And I know that just comes with time and experience. But I wish I knew more about myself. And don't get me wrong, I know a lot about myself. I stand for a lot because, if you don't stand for something, you fall for anything. But I just want to be more well-informed about myself. But if we're talking a little bit more literally, I wish I was more informed on African and African-American literature and history. And, I can accredit not knowing a lot to the terrible school systems teaching us this. My school education, I'm grateful from elementary, from preschool all the way up into high school was great. But overwhelmingly, we can attest that we were not taught African and African American history or literature very well. And I'm at the point in my life where I can no longer use that as an excuse. I can go out and get that information. And I do, and I still am. I'm not an expert. I'm never going to say that I'm an expert, but I'm learning more and more every day. I had an opportunity to take African American literature this semester at ECU, and it was wonderful. I mean, I know that's just a small section of information that I'm learning about, but that's a step. I learned so much more about African history and African culture. African Americans in general, we are just a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful people. We are truly magical. We are made of resilience. We are made of ivory. We are made of smooth gravy. Like, oh man, we are just so wonderful. I've always been interested and intrigued by African and African American culture, but when I was able to discover that on my father's side I have Ghanaian ancestry, I was able to really hone in on West Africa especially. So I'm learning so much more about West Africa, Ghana specifically, every day, and I just want to know so much more. What would be your first question after waking up from being cryogenically frozen for 100 years? Can everyone in the world read? Can everyone write? And when I say that, I mean, are people financially literate? Can people read and write texts? And let me be clear, like I said before, I'm a linguistics minor, but just because you cannot read and write does not mean you are stupid. It means you're illiterate, which literally means you cannot, write or read. But we need to realize that we're, for the most part in the world, we are in a competitive place. And there are parts of the world that are doing fine, that they don't have a written system, so they don't write or read. But I think that literacy is so important because knowledge is power. And like I said before, the only way to drive out this ignorance is to bring in new information. So I'd want to know, are people able to read and write? I'd also want to know, is world hunger over? Like, is it, I want people to be able to eat. Those basic things, I just feel like everyone should be able to do. And I want to eliminate homelessness and poverty. So those were the questions I would ask. Which of your scars has the best story behind it? I was a kid who played outside a lot, but I didn't really bruise or scar a lot. But one that I have on my knee, it's a pretty interesting story, I guess. So both of my parents say that they keloid. I don't really keloid, but this scar on my knee is a keloid, the only keloid I have. And I was in, I believe, some grade in elementary school. And I think it was just my brother, my mother, and I. We were all sitting out on the porch. And my mom asked me to get the mail. And my brother, for some reason, he wanted to get the mail. I was like, no, she asked me. And I really wanted to get the mail for some reason. So we basically were racing. And he pushed me down to the ground, which was concrete. And I scraped my knee. I really don't even remember how bad it hurt. But all I know is that now I have a keloid on my knee. So thank you, TJ. If you could have a never-ending candle that smelled like anything you wanted, what fragrance would you want it to be? I love the smell of detergent. Specifically Tide Plus, but, Arm & Hammer, all the other kinds, I like those too. So I would really want the scent of laundry detergent just because it's so fresh, and I just really, 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 really like the scent. What are some small things that make your day better? It really does not take a lot to make me happy. And I don't mean that in the sense that you can do whatever and I'll be happy with it, but the small things are what matter to me. So if you give me a compliment, I'm going to take it to heart and I'm going to carry that with me and I'm going to be very grateful. If you smile at me, if you wave, if you speak, I'm going to be happy. A lot of times people walk around with, faces that just harbor so much hatred and aggression. And I'm like, smile. Like, sometimes you're just making a face, you're not thinking about it. But there are people who will consciously look at you and I'm like, hello to you too. Good morning. Like, just smile. You never know what you do, how it'll help someone or how it will hinder them. So smile, speak, wave, and I love hugs. So those are small things. What city would you most like to live in? Like I said, I love traveling. I haven't done a whole lot of it. I've been to several states within the United States. And I've also been out of the country. But the number one city I would love to live in is London. And it was literally the number one most life-altering experience of my life. I was able to drink the tap water there. And I cannot do that anywhere here in America. The water was so fresh. Like, instead of going out and buying bottled water while I was there, I literally just filled up my water bottle from the sink. And even the water in the restaurants from the tap was just amazing. The food was fresh. It fit my dietary habits. So there was one time when my friends and I went to, I don't even remember where we went, but we went somewhere. And I think it was like a panini shop we'd go to like just about every day. And they sold apple juice. And the ingredients were literally water and compressed apples. That is it. And anyone who has any knowledge of American food, or, just eat it, that on the back of our bottles is a laundry list of ingredients with some of the stuff that we can't even pronounce. So why would we want that to go into our bodies? Also, it's, the city, so public transportation was not an issue. You can go anywhere you want as long as you have the bus pass or the money and take you wherever you want it to go. And I did a lot of walking. Like, I'm not exaggerating. My friends and I, we walked over 10 miles a day, and you could definitely see that in my shape and everything. I've gained the weight since coming back from London, but it was just so amazing. There's so much more of an appreciation for arts and theater there, which brought me back to middle school where I did acting. So that was just refreshing. There was just so much about the city. The sense of fashion was so similar to mine. It felt like I would fit in with the people and I'd also stand out a little bit. So those are all just a few reasons as to why, city-wise, I'd love to live in London. Also, while I was in London, I was able to just hear so many amazing dialects. I was able to hear so many different languages, and I saw the diverse cultures, people from the Caribbean islands, people from the Middle East, people from India, people from Asia. It was just really refreshing, and it was really, really cool. And the nightlife, it was so fun. Like, people were so nice, and it was just very welcoming and warm, and it was really, really fun. What do you wish that your brain was better at doing? I wish my brain was better at not focusing on so many things at once. And I literally mean, before I go to bed, I will be laying down, getting ready to fall asleep, and my brain will literally play everything that I need to do that following day. So you need to wake up, do your morning routine. You need to either, go to class or do this, do that. Minute by minute, it'll play out what I need to do. And like, well, if you can't do this, do that. Well, if something happens, you need to save enough time to do this just in case. And just this is playing all throughout my day. And it's really hard to enjoy the present when you're so focused on the future and having tunnel vision. And I definitely have tunnel vision, and I know that it's good to an extent, but there's also a very unhealthy tunnel vision that I've been trapped in sometimes. So I wish my brain was better at not focusing on things that aren't affecting me at that present moment, because it's so hard to stop and smell the roses when you're thinking about the trees that those plants will become, much later on in life. What's something you like to do the old-fashioned way? I love writing. So I know, like, once I got to high school, the essay writings, like doing them by hand, that stopped in about, I want to say maybe 10th or 11th grade. But there's just something so intimate and wonderful about handwritten notes, letters, essays, everything. So that's something old-fashioned that I like to do. How often do you people watch? I people watch a lot, and it really depends on the traffic of where I am. So like if I'm in a very busy city, I people watch a lot. If I'm in like, a small town where I live now, I don't really people watch a lot because there's not a lot to see. And I don't mean in the sense that I'm like, oh, what is he wearing? What is she wearing? What is he doing? Who's she dating? I don't care about things like that. I like to look at people and kind of make stories, I guess you could say. Since I'm a reader and writer at heart, I'm like, this is a good character. What's the plot? What's their career? What are they like as a person? Are they loving? Are they a cat lover? Are they a pig lover? Are they a city person? Are they an introvert or an extrovert based on how they talk to people? What are they probably going to eat once they leave this place? Things like that. I just like making stories up in my head. What would be your spirit animal? My spirit animal is a kingfisher bird, and I have a tattoo on my right arm, like right below my wrist. And the kingfisher bird is outlined in black, and it's mostly red with a little bit of green. And beneath that bird is an Urdu optimistic, which means hopeful and confident about the future. And this bird came from a Discovery Channel show I was watching one day with my grandmother. So before I got the tattoo, I was like, I know I want an animal. I don't know what kind I want. I said, okay, I want a bird. And I was going to settle for a hummingbird, but I was like, I don't really like that. Let me just hold off a little bit. Not too long after that, I was watching that show with my grandmother, and I heard about the kingfisher bird. As soon as the kingfisher bird was pictured on the screen and described, I was like, this is the animal that I'm going to get on my tattoo. The end. The kingfisher bird is basically a bird that does a great deal for its ecosystem, but it does so in such a majestic way. So it'll glide into and onto the water and you won't hear a thing. And I believe that that's very representative of me, because I like to do a lot for people and others and myself, but I don't like to necessarily talk about them. I'm the type of person to say that you're going to feel me and see me before you hear me. So I like to succeed in silence. And I just believe that this bird embodies me wonderfully. So that's my spirit animal. What's something that you've had to learn to unlearn? Definitely in 2017 alone, the biggest lesson that I've had to unlearn is saying, I'm sorry. And I don't mean not apologizing when you do somebody wrong or you knock over a cup of milk or something, because you need to say sorry. But I've learned to stop apologizing for valid reasons, especially ones that matter to my mental psyche. So there are a lot of times where I cannot literally physically do things because I am not in the mental place to do them. And I'll say, I'm sorry, fill in the blank here. So I've learned from a Twitter tweet I saw, I don't remember who tweeted it, but it was so wonderful. They said to, not say I'm sorry and replace it with phrases. And I can't remember what those phrases are, but the ones I said to myself are, I can't and unfortunately. So let's say I had an obligation such as going to a dinner party, and I was all gung-ho for it, going in, but I just had a really terrible week, and I'm not in a mental place to be around a bunch of people. I'm already an introvert, so it's very taxing to me to be around a lot of people, especially for a long amount of time. So instead of saying, I'm sorry I can't go to the dinner party, maybe say, unfortunately I can't go, or I can't. And, you don't have to always explain yourself. You don't always have to say, this is because. Sometimes you just literally cannot, and that is enough. And people who love you and respect you will understand that and stand by you. Never invalidate your mental well-being for other people. How different was your life 1 year ago? 1 year ago, I would not have made this podcast, and that's about it. I'm so much more outgoing. I didn't think it was possible, but I'm so much more loving. I'm so much more compassionate, understanding, pro-growth. I just want to be a better person every time I wake up. Every day that I wake up, I ask myself, what can you do to be a better version of yourself? To be better than the person you were yesterday? And I truly try my best to implement changes into my life that are promoting that. You're never too old or too young to be a better version of yourself. And I really try to do that every day. I always, for the longest in my life, said that I'm an introvert and that is not going to change. And I am still an introvert. But I can be in public settings and engage in meaningful conversation with people and not get overwhelmed anymore. I will not shake. I will not get sweaty. None of that type of stuff. I would say I've got rid of my social anxiety. I'm such a better person. I'm such a happier person. On the inside, I just feel so much calmer. And of course, I still have my days. I'm going through mental trials and tribulations all the time. But for the most part, I am so much better off this year than I was last year in so many different aspects. And I'm so grateful that comes from God. Number one, that comes from God. And it also comes from me putting myself in uncomfortable situations, because we all know that nothing ever grows in the comfort zone. So when I place myself in environments where I don't always want to be, or in environments that will challenge me, that's when I find out a new element of myself, or a new limb on me grows, because you have to do things that you've never done before to get things that you don't have and things that you want. And lastly, I just want to kind of run down how the podcast is going to work. Like I kind of touched on in the beginning, this is going to be a format of an outlet. So I want to make this a pillar of inspiration, motivation, and optimism for anybody listening. And I don't know what I want to do in my life, but I'm really okay with that. But I hope that this project will further contribute to not only my growth, but your growth as well, because this is a journey we're both going to take together. I'm going to discuss a wide variety of topics. So there's going to be days where I post happy stuff and days when I'm going to post tough stuff. And like I said before, it's because I want to be transparent. Life is not always white or black. It's not always happy or sad. There's in between as well. So I want to make sure that I'm touching all elements. I know that a lot of people who make videos or whatever they say episodes, but I'm going to call each a listen because there's no visual element and that's not really an episode. So I'm going to say listen. So I want to post one listen every week. And I really want that to be the same day every week. But since I'm currently not taking classes because this is winter break, once I go back for the spring semester, I'm going to get a feel for all my classes and see what days work best for me. So then hopefully I'll have one solid day that I post every week. But if not, definitely expect one listen from me every week, even if it's not the same day. I also have a question for you guys that I want an answer to. How long do you want each listen to be? So I know, they're probably listens for 30 minutes, 45 minutes, an hour. How long are you willing to listen to me? I really want to know, and I want to be receptive, and I want to be considerate of you guys' time. I will also be taking listen requests. So if there's something that you want to talk about, please feel free to let me know, and I'll be more than happy to talk about it. So there's topics that, I obviously am more well-informed about and I'm going to be discussing. And you may not know anything about them, so hopefully I teach you something. But there also may be topics that you tell me about that I know nothing about. So I'm going to do my research, and I'm going to let you all know that, I'm not an expert on this. So I'm learning with you. So just let me know if you ever want me to talk about anything specific. If people want to take a seat on the sofa and speak, let me know. So by that, Slaynuh sofa, I mean, if you want to talk with me, not necessarily be an interview, but, if you want to just talk on this platform of mine, just let me know. I'll be more than happy to set up something with you. Questions, comments, and concerns are always invited, and they are greatly appreciated. My next listen will be the first official listen, since this is a pilot podcast. And that first listen is called Mental Health Matters. So I will be talking about mental health. Thank you so much for listening. I hope you guys got something. If you picked up a seed of knowledge today, please spread it somewhere, plant it so that other people can get it. That's all that I've got for you today. Go out and get in your go yard. Stay low and stay solid.